right, Facebook doing its thing. As you join us, let us know in the comments where you're tuning in from, or let us know if you're catching the replay. We'll come back and chat with you. I'm going to double check on my end that we're groovy, but let me know you can see and hear me before we get started with this month's Goddess Chat. I see it live. Looks like we're here. Cool. Okay, sometimes there's a little bit of a lag, so if you are tuning in, drop a comment, let me know you're here. I'll give it just about a minute, and then we will dive into the conversation for this month. Hey, yes, some sisters are already with us. Hello, Dakota. Hello, Shelly. Hello, Jen. I'm hoping comments will pop up for me. Sometimes it takes a minute or two. So as we are getting settled, let me see if I switch this gallery, if it shows you guys Alyson down there. Hello, Dakota. Okay, there's Alyson. Cool. So I think we're good to go. Alyson, looks like people can see and hear us. Hi, Brooke. All right, cool. I'm gonna keep the comments down here. So if you guys see me looking down, that's what I'm doing, but please engage with us. Let me tell you a little bit about what this is if you're new to the space. My name is Leah Pegram, and I am lucky enough to be the admin of this community space. And once a month, sometimes twice a month, but typically once a month, I like to serve as a bridge to share the medicine of incredible soul sisters that have also been magnetized to this community space. And it is quite an honor, a deep honor to have my dear friend. She literally married my husband and I last year in October. Just such a soul sister, such an incredible friend, teacher, mentor, maker, minister, all of the things. Alyson McKellar-Clardy, and she's going to be sharing her medicine. These goddess chats are an opportunity to learn a little more about a sister's story and to give all of you an opportunity to connect in the comments. It's a great time for kind of virtual sisterhood, so please engage with us. If you have questions for Alyson, throw them at us. And to offer some insight on different healing modalities, or different aspects of spirituality or wellness or health, or mindset work or energy work or past lives, or all of the magical things that exist within this realm for us to tap into. And you can see what resonates. And so if a sister's sharing about something and you're like, oh, I love that, I want to learn more, now you have a resource to connect with. So that's a little bit about the Goddess Chat. That's our intention for this conversation. So welcome everyone, and welcome Alyson. I'm so excited to have you.
I'm always super excited to share space with you.
Same. And can we just take a moment, because when I say that Alyson is like the embodiment of what she shares with the world, just take in her background. Like, can we take in the altar that is her life? Like, that's one thing that I truly love about you, Alyson. And this is like legit from a close friend. Like, if I'm on the phone with her, the music you hear in the background is like massive like medicine music, and it's like coming through the speakers, and she's always like sipping her tea, and we were laughing because we're both like rocking our like goddess kimonos today, and she lives and breathes as prayer, and you're just such an embodiment of all that you share and you teach to this world. And so I thank you for that, and you're such an inspiration to me personally, and such a mentor. So just first and foremost, and most importantly, deep bow to you and the embodiment of the medicine that you are.
Thank you.
You're so
Let's
welcome.
get real though, it's actually coffee.
I got mine too.
It's never tea, it's always coffee. Just saying.
I think that's another reason why we vibe so hard. So.
I am down here on the earth and being human. So yeah, coffee.
That's it, right? The holy and the human. We're all about that, right? I love it. And everything's with intention, right? So we can bring that coffee in ceremoniously. That's what I tell myself when I gotta have my cup. Okay, let's see who's with us. So Dakota's here saying hi. Alyson's in here chatting. Cool. Catherine. And okay, cool. So we got several sisters with us. Let's dive in. Alyson, I'd love to start with sharing a little bit about little girl Alyson as a child, because I find it really interesting and beautiful that you actually were aware and tapped into some of this medicine that you have continued throughout your life to share with the world at a very, very young age, and kind of open to experiences that sometimes take much longer to feel into, accept, believe, and then live, like kind of from that place. And I know you've shared some of those stories with me, but I guess let's start there. Like anything around your childhood that you feel called to share that maybe were those kind of first moments of like, oh, wait a minute, like this life is pretty magical, or I'm thinking or experiencing things a little differently than other people. Are you cool to start way back when?
Of course,
All
of
right, I love
course.
it. Yes.
So this is funny because my husband and I are going to California next month, and I'm from California, and I spent most of my adult life in California. I've been back for, I don't know, 15 years at this point. But so when I was a kid, we used to travel a lot, right? And at some point we went to the Winchester Mystery House. And I was like, I don't know, 4. It was the first time I ever saw a ghost. So we're going there when we go. When we go to California next month, we're going to the Winchester Mystery House. I just love that it's full circle. I get to, take my husband to a place that, was I mean, that was a pivotal moment for me, and I just love that. I just love that we get to go back there. There were a couple of things that happened when I was a kid that I'm lucky enough to not have been shut down on, I don't remember this, but this is my mom's story. One time we were driving in the car and I said to her, I'm reincarnating. And she said, you're what? I said, I'm reincarnating. And she said, who told you that? And I went, nobody. She asked that because my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, was involved in the Rosicrucians in Southern California, and she was very interested in the Cayce material, the Edgar Cayce material, and so my paternal grandmother was a little woo, right? And so my mom was like, did your grandmother tell you that you were reincarnated? Like, I was like, no, I just know, right? And so it may have freaked her out, I don't know, but she didn't let me know that it freaked her out if it did. Secondly, she didn't try to shut it down, right? And so I would have flashes of previous lives when I was a kid, and if I spoke about them, it wasn't, don't say those things, and it wasn't, you're making it up and what a great imagination you have. It was none of that. So I was very fortunate in that. I do remember writing my soul contract. As a young child, I remember the conversation I had with my mother about this. I told her that I chose her and my dad. And I told her what it was like being disembodied with a little kid's vocabulary. Like, I didn't have all this highfalutin metaphysical vocabulary, but in a little kid's, way of communicating, I told her what it was like to be discorporate, be on the other side, and choose the path I was going to take. And yeah, that was intense for me as a kid, and like I said, luckily I was never shut down.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. And so just like, deep bow to, your mom for holding that space and allowing you to express, because I think that that's so true. So many of us, or all of us really are tapped into this and aware of this as young children. And we have our imaginary friends that we're playing with, and we think we can fly, like all of these things that we think and accept about ourselves and know to be true. And then we're shut down. Right. And like, just to get curious about what the world could be like if more people had always just known that what they were experiencing was true for them, and then allowed to really have permission to express from that place, right, of
It's
truth.
coming. It's
Yeah,
coming.
I actually have chills. Yeah, very.
You guys who have kids are making that happen.
Woo!
It's
Got
coming.
chills. We had chills before we started, got chills now. So if you're here for this conversation, let us know, in the comments. So many sisters are here watching. So just shout out to everyone that's been joining since Alyson has been sharing about her story, just from a very young age, just being tapped in and remembering. And, so you mentioned reincarnation and that connection of remembering some past lives. I know you shared with me, you remembered even things from different past names and things like that. And so now a piece of the medicine that you do share with the world is, past life regression and hypnotherapy. So do you want to speak a little bit about, what exactly that is, how you kind of came to offer that with the world? I mean, it's before Alyson hopped on, I was like, we could do a year-long series just with Alyson alone on Goddess Chats and share so much. So we're trying to keep it in, digestible chunk for you. But I do think I've had a session with you that was incredibly life-changing, just small, shout out and testament to the work that you do in the space that you hold. I was in a session with Alyson, and it was a session around, kind of finding a sacred temple. And I very clearly was taken there and saw this space, and in detail saw this. It was an old church, and I could see it. I could see everything about it. And then later, maybe a week or two later, kind of through the rabbit hole of seeing one of my family members post something and looking up this place in Ireland, this church exists, and it's from where my ancestors are from. And I chills again, completely blew my mind. I'm crying. I call Alyson. I'm like, oh my gosh, this place is real. What? And so that's just a small piece. And I have had so many friends share with me their experiences with you. So let's talk a little bit about that. One, how did you get into hypnotherapy? And then also the past life regression, and what does that look like and feel like for people that are maybe interested in exploring something like that?
Okay. Gods and goddesses bless my mom. That's all I can say, really. And thank you that I get to take care of her in her declining years, because my mom, y'all, let's just hold space for my mom for a second, because dang, that woman. Mary is her name. Anyway, when I was a young teenager, maybe 13 or 14, she hustled me into the car one night and said, okay, we're going to this thing. And I was like, all right, whatever, I guess we're going to this thing. And so we end up at this condo on the beach in Garden City it was all white. I thought I was in the angelic realm, honestly. It was all white. There were gigantic crystals everywhere. It was crazy, right? For this 13-year-old kid who was wow, look at this woman's house. This is the goal, right? And my house isn't all white, by the way. My house is every color. But anyway, that's beside the point. So we go to this thing, and it is a transcendental meditation group. And so I was able to drop in all the way down immediately. The first session we went, and then we would do a guided meditation. The woman whose house it was would guide a meditation. She was doing work with gongs and I don't even know what they're called, these glass or crystal chimes. I don't know. Anyway, I haven't seen those yet again. They'll probably come back out because sound is such a big thing, but whatever. So she would lead the meditation, and the people would do the thing, and then afterwards we would talk about our experiences, right? And the first session, they were everybody was looking at me what the hell is up with this kid, right? Because I'm and it was scaly and blue, and then da da da, and then down to the nth detail, right? And so I loved that experience. And so every time every week I was like, are we going to Wanda's? Are we going to Wanda's? Are we going to go to Wanda's? Like, I was into it, right? And as a teenager, to want to spend time with your mom, that was pretty awesome too, right? So during the course of our time with Wanda Day, was her name. This was in the early 80s. Anyway, Wanda Day, if you're out there, you were awesome and you changed my life. Never seen her again. So during the course of our time with Wanda, I would remember the past lives, right? I remember very clearly one where I was the rhythm keeper on a slave boat. Like, that was really intense. Anyway, and then so I started moving through my life, and I would do certain things and I would know that I had done this before. When I started working metal, I started seeing things. And I remember one time especially, I was making this, like, I don't know if anybody's seen my work, but I don't show anybody anything, whatever. I'm such a bad marketer. Whatever. Anyway, I was making this Celtic knot thing with wire, and I was like, I know exactly how to do this. Like, I know exactly how to do. The first one I ever made was perfect. Like, perfect, right? And I looked at it and I was like, there's no freaking way that just happened like that. You know what I mean? So, you know, my whole life I've been connected to the record, basically, right? It's the Akashic record that we're able to see. And so I don't know, at some point I just decided that I needed to help other people see that stuff, because it's interesting, but it's also helpful, you know? So I studied hypnotherapy with a school in Scotland called ecology. And once I received my credential, I started working with people for free, because you got to do that for a while. And then I just started. I first started at 𝐀𝐥𝐤𝐤𝐿 in Pawleys Island. And you know, it just became a thing. And so as I started working with people, at first I was just trying to get the mechanics of what I was doing down. But then as soon as that became an innate ability, then I started to receive stuff about them, right? So I know what my record feels like, because I've been accessing it my whole life, right? So when other people's information come in, I know that it's theirs and not mine. Do you know what I mean? So to work with me, you're going to get a lot of information. You know, the stuff that comes across for you and the stuff that comes across for me weaves into the message that you need to hear. It's incredible work. I really love the work. So that's about that. That's what I got about that.
I love you so much. And this is why I love you, because like we'll have a lot of conversations around this. It'll be the most like profound, magical, dimension jumping conversation, and then you're just like, yeah, and then it's Tuesday, like, and here we are. No big deal. Oh man, those sessions are incredibly powerful. If you're curious at all, I just invite you, encourage you, nudge you to reach out to Alyson, because it is so true. And there'll be things from the sessions that continue to show up. Like, for example, the temple that was my temple in this session that I saw, that ended up being directly connected to my ancestors, then led me to do more research to realize that my ancestors are from this area that's the land of the holy wells. And simultaneously, chills again, I had been getting messages that I'm supposed to work with water and learn more about water as a wisdom keeper and a code keeper, and then share that with others, right? So it's incredibly powerful. And so just deep bow to you for showing up in the ways you do, for being brave enough to share that you do this kind of stuff, you know, just like, oh, here I am and all that I am. And that's just like a tiny piece of what you hold. You hold so many different things and share so many different things, different aspects of yourself, right? Like with the world. You mentioned your the creations, the art, the jewelry, the just the magic that you weave in that space. And so I would love to just touch a little on that. You know, I know that, I mean, you just innately are so creative. We all are, but you're really tapped into that creative essence, and it comes out in all of the ways. You can even see it in the way you decorate your home behind you. But I would love to just hear a little bit about the maker part of you, right? And how that came to be. Like, I know that you did a lot of creative work, and you were in markets, right? With some of your things that you were creating when you lived in California, right? And then you've kind of brought it back here. And I know, you know, if you've seen any of her work, go check out Magick Room Ministries, because the things she shares, it's hard to put into words. I think a lot of what you do, but even with what you create, it's kind of hard to put into words. But if you want to share anything about the maker part of you, I'd love to hear a little more.
That they did try to squash.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was mostly my dad, you know, saying, he actually cursed me. I don't know if he knew. I'm sure he didn't know he was cursing me, but when I told him that I didn't want to continue to be in college, he said to me, well, if you think you can what did he say? He said, I can't even remember now because I've worked past it. He said, if you think you can do something with your hands better than you can with a degree, be my guest. And it was said with a lot of venom and a lot of, you know, disdain, and just, he cursed me. And so me as an artist has been a rebellion. Do you know what I mean? So I, like, as soon as he said that, I went direct, like I literally left here with $200 and a Foot Locker on a Greyhound bus to go to Berkeley and be a street artist. Right? Yes. Like, this is the last thing a dad wants to hear that their kid is going to fucking do, right? Ooh, sorry. If you know me, you know me. Sorry, whatever. So, yeah, I just, so I started with wire. I did cold forged wire. I did that for a long time. Long enough that I was a master by the old guild standards. So, I don't know. My hands didn't want to really do that anymore. And when I moved to Asheville, it like my hippie vibe, which doesn't really make sense, but my vibe of hippie did not fly in Asheville. So I was like, I guess I don't make jewelry anymore. Right. So
they're catching up to you now, I think, in Asheville, probably.
So, I don't know. I went through trying to have like normal jobs. Like, I tried to have normal jobs. I really did. And it just didn't work. But, I've always made things. Like, so the reason Magick Room, I'll tell you that story. When I first moved in with my husband, I kind of took over the spare bedroom because I have to make things, right? So he was like, he said, there's junk, like, to me, this is a bunch of junk. And you come in here for an hour and you come out with this crazy, beautiful thing. He goes, it's magic. That must be the magic room because that's magic, right? So, yeah, my husband gave me that name, which I love. But I don't know. I have to make. Yeah, I have to make. When we were buying this house, it took us a long time to buy this house because it was a weird legal situation. And so we had kind of started to pack a little by little. And at some point I packed the art studio, and it was taking way too long. And he was like, I think you need to go in there and unpack something and make something because you're being a bitch. And I was like, all right. I didn't realize until that moment that it was such a need. So
yeah, just a part of who you are. And I love in knowing your like just depth of love for your husband and just how intentional you both are just about your relationship and devotion to each other. Like, of course, he came up with the name Magick Room Ministries, and it would be woven in to your, the work that you're sharing with the world. So I love that. I love that. It's so cool. There's just so much that I feel like we could touch on, but when you were sharing about just like that creative essence just kind of just needing to pour through you, and then you also touched on trying different work in the world, what I think is really cool is that anything that you do is in ceremony. I shared that earlier. Like when I think of you, I think of someone who embodies ceremony and really does live, walk, talk, breathe as prayer. And the art and intentionality and ceremony that you create around food and nourishment is amazing to me. And so another thing that Alyson does is shares incredible food with the world. She's a chef. And so it's just like you think, and we're only touching like this much of what Alyson is. So we might have to do like a part 2 at some point, or we could literally be here all day. But yeah, so you share this incredible food with the world. And then you also offer ceremonies, right? So I shared earlier, it was such an honor and a blessing to have you do the hand fasting ceremony for my husband and I last October out at the Fern. And do you want to speak a little bit to that, the different, the ceremonies that you offer and kind of like that world of, which is a big one, but just kind of sharing and helping people create those ceremonies within their own lives and to honor rites of passage and things like that?
I love to occupy my priestess archetype. I love it so much. It's also a creator archetype still though, because as I don't just like take other people's scripts and whatever and perform them, if you will. I craft the whole experience front to back, and it's all rites of passage, right? I don't think we celebrate rites of passage enough.
So true.
And it doesn't have to be a wedding or a funeral or a baby. It can be the closing of a business. It can be the opening of a house. Like, it's all rites of passage. So, I kind of, when I craft these rituals and ceremonies, I get to know the people that they're for. I get to know what they're trying to do, right? Where they're trying to go, what their dreams are, and weave all that into. I pull from all kinds of sources. As far as the imagery and the references that I'm using, I can't even be eloquent about this because I could talk about it for 5 hours and still not get everything in. So let's just suffice it to say that I give really good ritual.
I attest to that as well. Yeah, I think it's the intentionality behind it, and you just hold, like I was saying, just the way that you live your life, the way that you adorn yourself, the way that you are driving in the car, listening to the ceremonial music blasting. And I'm sure that's not all the time because you listen to a wide variety of music like I do, and we've talked about that, but just you are this embodiment. And so you hold such a reverence for all that you do. And so to have been on the receiving end of something that you've created from your heart and really personalized, it's incredibly beautiful. And so just deep bow to the priestess in you, my friend, and for helping inspire and activate the priestess within me. I think that you're a big inspiration in that way, and have mentored me a lot in the priestess archetype space. So I just want to, give you that love. We have so many comments. So I do want to scroll up and just kind of shout out the people that have been tuning in and chatting with us. and giving you some love along the way. But we had some questions. Okay, so going back to when we were talking about childhood stuff, Dakota had said, I saw my first ghost at 5. Unfortunately, I was shut down a lot. I love that you were able to be so clairvoyant as a child. I craved it, but the religious state of my mom stopped it. I'm so interested in your story. Yeah, I think a lot of people can resonate with that, remembering these pieces of their childhood story and having it squashed or shut down. And a lot of times from belief systems, of the parents and sometimes, religious organizations of the like. So thank you.
We all remember we all remembered when we were kids.
Yeah.
I was just fortunate enough to be one of the ones that wasn't.
And I love that because of that, you now create spaces for people to tap back into that remembrance, which helps to, activate that within the adults in the world that are kind of like, wait, where is this root? And then you're like, I'm gonna bring you to it, like right now, here it is, remember. And so I love that. Kelly, how do you know the difference between being touched and mental illness, especially schizophrenia?
I don't really know a lot about mental illness. I know that there's probably a really fine line there. I think that would be a question for Vanessa.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I think that she would be the person that I would go to to help me try to find that line if I thought I was getting anywhere near it. I think if you're functional in the world, you're probably not as close to that line as you might think you are. I don't know. That's not a question that I can really answer.
Yeah, so it's a good question, Kelly. And I think when we're referencing Vanessa Perry is an intuitive counselor, and she comes in once a month and does a free live chat right here in the group, and it's called Soul Tea with V. I think this month, and I'll tag her so she can kind of maybe come in and offer some insight in the chat of this thread too. But I think it's on the 21st this month. You can reference the calendar, and it's an incredible conversation to be a part of, because I felt it was really important to weave in a mental health piece from someone that is a professional in that field. And so I think that she would be able to offer some more insight. So if someone's watching that's friends with Vanessa, feel free to go ahead and tag her. If not, I'll do it once we hop off. So thank you for bringing that into this space.
She's freaking amazing, by the way, as a therapist. Just attesting personally.
Yeah. She's incredible. She's absolutely incredible in all of the ways. Like the sisters that are magnetized into this community and that I've had the pleasure of getting to know and witnessing their sacred work in the world, like continues just to like blow my mind and open my heart in so many ways. And Vanessa is certainly one of those. Caitlin said, no joke, before I even saw this, I was thinking I need to connect with some sisters to get out of my own head this week and reconnect with the universe. So we are glad you are here with us, sending you love. Hi, Lynn. Hi, Mary. Liza Minnelli. I always forget the Facebook name. Okay, Alyson is incredibly magical. She's the only person who's been able to get me to meditate. And I know it's really hard for people to meditate, and you are able to bring people into the depth of that space and the slowness of that. Do you have any tips for people that might think it's hard to meditate?
My training as a hypnotherapist is what is key there. I use certain language patterns and like concepts to get you into that place. And just so that once you've been there and you know what it feels like to be there, it's easier to get back there, if that makes sense. So, meditation is all about awareness. So one of the things I tell people is if you're meditating, right, and you notice that you're having a thought, you were already doing it. Like you were doing it. Don't tell me you can't do it, because if you're noticing the monkey mind, you were doing it. We don't go around all day noticing the thoughts we're having. We're just having the thoughts, right? So I don't like that. I can't do it because my mind won't stop. Just be aware of it. That's what it's all about. It's being aware of the noise that the ceiling fan is making, the thoughts that you're having, and letting go, right? And not getting stuck in, I'm having thoughts, I can't do that, right? You know what I mean? So if you still need help, I will be happy to hypnotize you so that you know what it feels like to be in that space. But yeah, everybody can do it. Just know that you were already doing it.
I love that. I love that, because I think people do get discouraged where they're like trying to sit and they're expecting some sort of experience, and then they have a thought, and then there's this like shame and guilt and frustration, like I can't do it. But you absolutely are right. Like you were doing it. And that's such a beautiful reminder when the thought comes in of like, celebrate, let's shift that. Let's reframe that. When the thought comes in, celebrate, like, yes, I was doing it. Okay. Like, you know, and like honoring that you were being the sacred witness. So yes, thank you for speaking that into the space. Oh my gosh, there's so many comments. Okay. Christy Williams tapping in. Christy, just sending you love and healing and light, my friend. Christy's going through some stuff, so I just want this entire sisterhood just to hold her in love and healing light and all of the things. Just know you're supported here, my sister, my friends. We see you and we love you. So thank you for tuning in. Woo, chills again on that one. Yes. Shelly, you speaking is giving me chills. Let's see. Love Alyson. So Caitlin said, Caitlin Levine Safa says, love Alyson and had my first regression with her, and the things that happened the next day were beyond what words could even explain. I can't wait to connect with her again. You got people crying in here, Alyson. Catherine says, I loved hearing that. I did a hypnosis back in 2017. Would love to do another. Okay, I'm glad you're here, Catherine. Glad I gave you a notification to join us. Let's see, we got a few more. Linda, I'd love to work with you, Alyson. Fear of death, I just stepped into it this morning, but I know much of it comes from past lives. I've had spirits from those times appear to me out of my sleep. I see them physically. Yeah, definitely connect with Alyson. Linda, you are a powerhouse, and the two of you together, like in conversation, like what? Like Alyson, I mean, Linda's incredible. She just went through my Return to Circle program. I think you guys would definitely vibe. So make that connection. Hi, Mindy. Hi, Nina. Andra. Everybody's loving on the Magick Room name. Just gonna check, and then some people tagged Vanessa. Thank you for that. Corey, getting out of self-judgment is huge. It was my barrier for the longest time. Yeah, and I think as women, we shame, guilt, and judge ourselves all of the time for all of the things. I mean, I think everyone does, but I think we're even just harder on ourselves. So it's like the thing happens, and then we self-inflict a wound by being like, damn it, the thing happened. Like, you know, and like being a human's hard. So I think like hopefully this conversation can be an invitation for someone that is maybe struggling with some of that to just have a little grace with yourself. And you know, you're doing great. And then we got one more. Catherine, is there a way to under meditate? Like I can get rid of the noticing. I do it constantly. Been looking into things and I notice more of my thoughts. I can tell whether I am dealing with child Catherine and teen Catherine. Is keeping them out of my mind where I have the issue. I don't know if you want to touch on the under meditate. What I kind of intuitively felt when I hear that is if child Catherine and teen Catherine are showing up in any sort of way, invite in conversation with those aspects of yourself is kind of what I hear. What are your thoughts on that? I don't know if
well, I mean, that's where I was too. Like
yeah.
If child Catherine and teen Catherine are showing up, it's because they need some love.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And if you can't distinguish between the two, spend some intentional time with both of them, and they'll both kind of show where they want you to go and kind of what's.
Catherine, reach out to me and we'll talk about what you mean by under meditate, because I'm not sure I'm understanding 100%, but I'm available to you.
Thank you. I love these chats. So much engagement. I knew that this one would have a lively conversation for those that were live. Like I definitely had a feeling. Yeah. Okay, Catherine. So yeah, absolutely connect with Alyson, and maybe she can guide you a little more on that. Let's see. I mean, there's so much more we could talk on, but I know we've been on here for a bit. I love talking with you all of the time. I just want to say, like, this is Alyson. Like, if you're close friends with her, if you're in space with her, like, who you are is who you are. And that's one thing that I love. You're not one person like in an interview or a chat like this, and then one person in ceremony, and then one person when we're having coffee at a coffee shop. Like, this is you. And so if you resonate with her energy, I invite you to run to her and connect in all of the ways. I'd love to share a few things that, you know, I know that, you know, we're paired up on, just if people are interested. If you're coming to Rewild, which is our women's retreat that I co-facilitate with Lauren Calloway, it's coming up the 21st through the 24th. If you're coming, drop Rewild in the chat. We are so excited. I just got chills again. Oh, it's absolutely incredible. It's this camping weekend right here in Long, South Carolina. River Island Adventures is where we do it. So it's right along the Waccamaw River. happens every year, end of September. And Alyson, you've been involved from the beginning, and it's just kind of evolved over time. You're holding a larger role this year, which I'm so excited about. So this year, and we didn't necessarily use the term in our conversation, but I do want to speak it into this space, that you are very passionate about crafting, and you share that crafting, and you call it ministry through craft. So I'd love if you would just kind of maybe speak to that a little bit, and maybe a little bit of a teaser around what the ministry through craft is for 𝐀𝐤𝐤𝐤 this year, in case there's some sisters that are going to be there. And we're leaving a little bit of an element of surprise. We've touched on it a little bit, but anything that you feel called to speak about it now would be beautiful.
So I kind of horned my way into Rewild. The first
We're
year
welcome.
I was like, I had this idea, like maybe we can make crowns for like wild woman crowns out of stuff we forage out of the forest. Like, is that okay with you guys? And they were like, of course. So so we did that. And the first morning, as I was dragging my stuff from the tent to the outpost in the wagon, I looked at my next door neighbor, who happened to be Mary Moore. And I said, for the first time ever, it's time to go with my best pitch, ministry through craft. And that was the first time those words ever came out of my mouth. Right. And so the concept for me of that is that when we tap into our creative selves, it's a way of getting out of our own way. It's a really easy way of getting out of our own way. Even if we don't have the technical prowess or the design background or any of that stuff, it doesn't matter, right? It's a really easy way to get out of our own way. That first year when we made those crowns, and we lined them up all on the fire pit, and they were all so different, and they were all so beautiful. Like, I just was moved to tears. Like, I was like, look at what you guys did, and look at how beautiful we all are. Because those crowns were representations of who we are, right? So it's just a really beautiful thing. And then when we did the dolls, like, stuff is coming through for us all the time, right? Information, help from our higher selves, from the higher beings, our spirit teams or whatever. It's coming in all the time, whether we're there to witness it or not, right? We can be super busy and be in our lives and be crazy and doing all the things and washing the dishes and changing the windshield wipers and all that. Or we can be doing all that stuff and being present to what's happening. You know what I mean? So with crafting, here's a tangible thing that came through, right? So when we did the dolls, the first person who finished brought her doll over to me, and I started reading it. And she was like, how did you know all that about me? I'm like, it's right here. Right. So it's kind of like there's an element of therapeutic of therapy that comes through. There's an element of messaging from on high that comes through. It's magic. It's freaking magic. That's all I know. So this year, we're making animal masks, and I cannot wait to see them all lined up on that fire pit together, because we're all different and we're all beautiful, and it's just, I can't wait. I just can't wait. I can't wait. And if you have any fear in you about crafting, don't let that, and you're coming, don't let that get at you at all in the meantime. And when we get there, I'm going to be there to hold the space. So
I love that. And I was going to speak that into this space. I'm still working through where it comes from, and whenever that memory actually fully comes present and online, it'll be really interesting. But I have anxiety around crafting, and I shared this with Alyson as my friend, and then we're doing this thing at Rewild, and I was very resistant to doing the crafts. And I was like, I wanted someone to like do it for me, right? And Alyson's not that type. She's like, no, like it's in you, like you can do this. And there was a lot of resistance. There was a lot of anxiousness. I always laugh about it where I'm like, put me in front of hundreds of people, I'll speak, I'll dance like my wild woman in front of people, and no, I don't care. You give me a blank sheet of paper and a crayon and tell me to draw something, and I'm like, like my whole system like starts to shut down. So it's been really therapeutic for me to work with you through crafting and through this ministry of craft, because you're right, it allows you to express pieces of yourself that like are maybe not like readily available all the time. There's things that come through, and then you'll be like, oh, like that's why I put that there. And then last year with my doll, I felt less resistance, you know, and I know this year with doing the animal spirit mask, there's going to be less resistance. And so if you do have anxiety around crafting at all, like I am a living, breathing, like I see you, sister, and I invite you to try because it's really, really powerful. What I'm also really excited about is I happened to bear witness to the moment, Alyson, that you tried on your mask for the first time. I was like, oh, just look through it, let me see what it looks like. And it was like, she put it on, she was like, whoa, like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. I mean, it's like an initiation. So this one I'm really excited about, because we will, you know, wear these, and you're going to be looking through this portal of your mask. And then, you know, we'll have some experiences on Saturday night around the fire with like movement, and we're going to have these, and woo. So if you're going to Rewild, get ready. If you're interested about what we talked about, join us next year. I'm so ready.
Buckle up.
Yes, get ready. Raven's in here. I want an animal spirit mask. So maybe there's something that can come from this in the future. And we need to get you, Raven, to one of these rewilds, my friend, for sure. Hi, Lori. Yeah, everyone's all about the ministry through craft. So thank you for speaking to that. And then just a couple other things before we wrap up. Thank you for everyone that's been along for this ride of this beautiful conversation and just present and engaging with us. It makes it so fun to have everyone here kind of throwing their love and questions and stuff into the space. Lori says she'll be with us next year at Rewild. Yeah, you'll be missed this year, my friend, but we'll see you next year. And shout out to Lauren, who's the co-facilitator and helping, you know, hold and create this space alongside us. So so excited. That's coming up next week. And then Alyson, you and I have birthed something that really I think we've been talking about and probably has been underneath the surface probably for years, but it's finally like kind of coming up, and we're birthing it out into the world. You and I have held numerous sister circles on different elements at different times, right? So maybe I think we touched on earth a couple different years at like a goddess gathering on the beach. And then we did a circle at some point this past year where we spoke to all of the elements and kind of the journey through the alchemical process in that circle. But we have recently announced that we felt really called to do a retreat series together and to spend some time on each element and on the alchemical process. And so it's called Elemental, and it's a retreat series. It'll be once a month from, is it November to January or February? It's 6 retreats. So November, December, January, February. Oh, through April. Is that right?
April.
January
Yeah.
through April. I remember we shifted. Yeah, we've been talking different time frames. So yeah, January through April, it's going to be once a month. We're using the incredible space. Marie Hall, one of our sisters here in the space, owns Mindful Journey Academy. It's out in Conway. It's this like enchanted forest area. There are bell tents, and there's going to be a yurt out there. And so we have really vibey indoor spaces to use. You're in the forest, like, oh, it's so good. But do you want to speak to Elemental at all and kind of what's alive within you for that? I know we have our fire one coming up in November. But yeah, if you want to speak to that a little bit.
Sure. So that's a whole thing.
We'll do another live about it for sure, just on Elemental. But I guess
let's just talk about alchemy for a second. Alchemy, like spiritual alchemy, is what we're talking about, turning the dross inside of us into gold, right? So transmuting these lower vibrational ways of being into gold, right? And so there's the alchemical process of old, which is how they were turning lead into gold, is a metaphor basically for the spiritual journey. So it starts with fire. First, you got to burn down, right? You know, Then you got to sit in your emotions. And then we're in this water thing, right? And it goes and goes. So we'll be starting with fire, and then we move into water. I can't exactly remember without looking at my notes how we move forward from that. But then at the very end, we'll do ether. And then the very last session will be an integration session. And I kind of feel like a lot of us miss that final closing piece in some of the work that we do. Like, we have to embody this stuff. We have to integrate this stuff. And so it's going to be a really intense journey for some people. That first meditation in the fire retreat is not for the faint of heart. So if you are not willing to look at your shadow, if you are not willing to like dig deep into aspects of yourself that you're not proud of, that you're not that you don't like, don't come. Just don't come. Like I said, I'm bad at marketing, but I am telling you right now, if you're not willing to like dig in, don't come. Especially to that first one. You can get something out of each one that you can take with you. But if you do the entire series, you're going to be a changed person. It's going to be really intense.
Mm-hmm. And I think
so,
because you and I just both are feeling so called to just really hold like depth of space, right? And just being so intentional around the depth and being able to hold that kind of space with integrity and love is one of the reasons why we're keeping it really small. We're only gonna have 11 people at this with us, so there'll be a total of 13. It's not open just to sisters, so it's open to men, women, non-binary. It's definitely going to be for adults only. I don't know if we set the actual age, but I would think we said maybe 15, 16. We might have even said 18, but it should be on the Facebook event page. You can check it out, and I'll drop it here in the comments. But it is, I mean, these are for people that are, if you're really feeling called to go there and to be in ceremony with yourself and to be held accountable and to look at the things and then to just be activated in ways you may not expect or that you might have expected if it weren't going to do, that we're able to kind of like bring this into this space. We're weaving so many different modalities into this journey. And what I think is really cool is we spoke to this earlier in the chat, but Alyson, just the way that you work with food and beverage and nourishment, she's going to be creating custom to each element at each retreat. And it's a day retreat, each one. A ceremonial bite and sip. So when we have our lunch, we're doing like a potluck lunch together. When we have this experience, we will also have this ceremonial bite and sip that will be representative of the element that we're working with. So I'm really excited about that. The fire one's coming up November 25th. I believe that's what it is. Let's see. Yeah, November 25th, and all the details are on Facebook. I'll tag it below. So I wanted to make sure to speak that into the space. And then is there anything else that you feel called to share? And then we can let people know how to find you, best way to contact you.
I not really. I've said a lot today.
It's been quite the conversation.
You guys know me better now.
Yeah. And I appreciate you for coming here and being willing to speak all the words into the space. I knew this conversation would be a longer one. There's just so much here, and you're so interesting and inspiring and a true embodiment of what you share with the world. And so you are worthy of all of this time and all of our attention on you to just hold you and be like, we see you, we celebrate you, and thank you for being you and for blessing our lives with your presence and your intention. There were a few, I just want to make sure there weren't any comments before we hop off here.
Oh, you know what? I do want to say one thing. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, go ahead. I'll do comments after that.
Okay, so I'm in the middle of a course, well, not the middle, I'm closer to the beginning of a course of study in metaphysics. I'm pursuing a doctorate in metaphysics. So with that being said, my time is short and valuable. Reach out to me. I may be able to make space. I may not. But if you do reach out, please, for the love of all the gods and goddesses, please keep your appointment. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I think it's the intentionality and the integrity and the depth, right? Like if you're wanting to hold these spaces, and so to have that really be honored by people being fully ready to show up. And so I like that you kind of charge that with, if you don't feel ready, maybe this isn't for you right now, right? But you'll know in your heart. So if you're hearing this conversation and you're like, whoa, like I'm meant to work with Alyson in some way, or I'm meant to be at this retreat, or I'm meant to go to Rewild, or whatever it is in this conversation, explore hypnotherapy, craft, whatever. Be really honest with yourself, and then show up for yourself, show up for the space holder. So thank you for speaking that into the space, because your time and energy and attention and intention is very valuable, my friend. Lots of people, Raven, Chanel saying they're going to join us next year. Alyson puts you at ease when crafting. Chanel said that. Yes, she does. Everyone's just thanking you, giving you a lot of love. Linda is going to be there over Thanksgiving. Linda, if you could come to our fire retreat, my friend. I think when you told me you were going to be in town, I thought about that. Woo, it's going to be good stuff. It's going to be good stuff. Alyson, thank you. Let everyone know how to find you, because you were saying to reach out. So how can they reach out? What's the best way?
The best way to get me is through my Facebook business page, Magick Room Ministries. All my information is there. You can call me on the phone. Like, you could actually call me on the phone. Yeah. Just saying. It's an idea. You could call me on the phone. I don't know. I may be old, but the phone does still work. Or you can reach out to me through Messenger there. You can text me, whatever you need to do. All my stuff is on that biz page.
All right. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to everyone that joined us. What a fun conversation with just so much woven into it. So deep bow to you, my friend. Thank you to everyone that joined us. Happy new moon to everyone. Of course, we would do this on a new moon without even realizing. So I love it. Yes. And a lot of love. And until next time. All right. Bye.
Bye.